ecosystem or an ecological service that bats provide is the consumption of insects. So, and there may be, we don't know, there may be other species that are less affected will kind of come in and fill the void, but we have no idea. We have no ability to make those guesses even at this point.
But like you're thinking like the environmental footprint could be as part of the like use more pesticides to
Exactly. Yeah. So there could be those knock-on effects, and we don't know, right? I mean, we may not know what happens when the bats go. Maybe it causes an increase in pesticides, which maybe then affects the other bats. And so then there are those knock-on effects to drinking water quality.
But as far as these bats, I understood like passing it on to cattle, horses, or livestock, that's not fear.
I mean, unless they are feeding on pest insects of livestock. Yeah.
But as far as the environment, the animals, the livestock, the living.
Oh yeah.
This can't grow, and this fungus can't grow.
No, it can't. Yeah. So I mean, unless there's some sort of evolution, but there hasn't been, so all of a sudden it starts to infect humans. But that is totally speculative, not even speculative, science fiction.
Or cattle, or livestock.
Anything that has a body temperature more than 20 degrees Celsius with this fungus should be fine. Yeah. Yep.
Why wouldn't they know if there's bats there if they go in?
Why would they? Sorry.
Why wouldn't they know if there's bats in there if they go in?
Yeah, they do. So there's a few things. So basically, they've seen them, and so this is where this collaboration is sort of developing. Is they've gone into buildings or other areas and they've seen bats in the summer. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're hibernating there, though, and they may, in some cases, may even be inaccessible to see. So there may be some sort of mine shafts that the bat can get in, but we can't. So you can put up those detectors just before they start hibernating. And what that does is they'll swarm. They do these big swarms. So you should get lots of activity just before they start hibernating. And then that's where we can maybe sort of, any of those spots where we can identify, maybe go in, if we can access them, swab for white nose syndrome and those sorts of things. But you know what, you're 100% right that I think it'll be a multi-pronged thing, that some places will put up the bat detectors, other places where we or the environmental protection officers will have to go in there and look and do those swabs and things like that. Yeah.
Is there no way to collect bats and trap device on to find the hibernate?
Yeah, sort of, yeah, but the problem, I guess there's a few things. So one is the size of the animal. So, you know, in a perfect world, you'd put like a GPS collar on a bat, right? But they're getting to a point where you can sort of put them on like weasels, but especially because bats fly, it's just too much weight for them, where the technology is currently. You can put little radio detectors on them that you can find them sort of within like a 5-kilometer radius. But for those sort of long distance movements, the technology isn't quite there yet. There are other approaches that you could use to narrow things down. It's certainly something to consider. Things like people will use stable isotopes, so they'll take fur samples and try to figure out based on the chemical composition of the fur, which has a geographic signature. Well, maybe it at least came from the northeast part of Saskatchewan or something like that, if they can even get it. Yeah, there are other approaches for sure too, but unfortunately not the GPS technology, which would be on. Yep. Okay.
So I lived down on the Fraser River for Calgary.
Yeah.
Last winter we found it out in our wood shed in the middle of winter hanging.
Oh, okay.
And I thought exactly the same thing. This is really weird, shouldn't he be hibernating somewhere else? And a couple of weeks later he died and fell onto the bottom of the wood shed. And I thought he froze because I was thinking of the inappropriate place to be hibernating. But
Yeah.
not knowing where they were supposed to be,
Yeah.
I had no idea. And so when I picked him up, he had exactly what you described.
Oh,
But he was dead, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought exactly what your researchers were. I was like, oh, he was dead a week here, and this is just something that
Right.
came
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
since.
Yeah.
What he didn't have, I don't think, I didn't like stretch marks or anything like that, but I don't think he had any like ratty wings.
Oh, okay.
Like
Okay.
that. folded up, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, I threw them out.
It's
If I'd known this
possible.
last summer, I would have put them in the freezer.
Yeah. So hopefully it wasn't, hopefully it was something else. But I guess it's a good opportunity for like a public service announcement. Two things, so I mentioned in collaboration with the Canadian Cooperative Wildlife Health, Canadian Wildlife Health Cooperative. So that's based out of the U of S, the vet college at the U of S. Any bats that are suspected of white nose, it would be fantastic if you could even just get in touch with me, and then I could arrange to have it sent to them to get tested for white nose. And so typically that would be a confirmation of white nose, as they would actually go in and look at it under the microscope and say, okay, that's what it is. So if anybody sees anything like that, and with one major caveat being, so long as the bat's dead, because you could have bats, if they're acting weird in the middle of the summer, they're on the ground, bats can have rabies. That's one of these myths that isn't really a myth. Any mammal can contract rabies. It's not that they're flying rabies reservoirs. That's the myth. But if they're acting weird, if they're on the ground, I would say don't touch it, or at least don't touch it unless you've got a bunch of big leather gloves on it. But if it's something in the middle of winter and if it's got that white stuff on it, it'd be great to get in touch with me. And that's the other sort of part of that announcement is that website at the bottom isn't mine, actually. That's run out of a collaboration between the University of Winnipeg, this Bat Watch, and the Quebec government. If you have, and you're willing to disclose it, it's just a public place to share where you've seen bats in a barn, for example. And I should have had an image, but it's really easy to Google. The first thing that'll come up is sort of looks like a Google, maybe they even use Google Earth, and little houses where people have found bats. And then that's really great, that sort of preliminary baseline information will be really, really helpful. So thanks for mentioning it. I hope you're all right. Okay, thanks very much.
Well, we've heard a couple speakers about some
Oh,
of the
yeah.
issues. And we're going to call up Mel Ratter and Lee Sexton to talk about one of the projects that we're working on right now. So, and while she's setting up, Caitlin reminded me that there is some evaluation forms.
Yeah, I meant to put them on the back of the AGM, the AGM agenda, but if you look at the back, I couldn't see what twice, so sorry about that. So you can find the actual evaluation form just in the back there, so if you don't mind taking a second to fill it out, and it helps when we have to do events like this in the future. We want to be able to come back to East End and do another presentation, the next year or so. So that would be awesome if you don't mind filling that out.
And Krista reminded me that there's going to be some door prize draws during our next break. And put your name, make sure you put your name in the back. So, anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Mel and Lee. And I don't know, James. But James is part of it.
Okay, we'll get everybody sitting down and quiet down. Now can give a presentation.